Okay, so everyone knows that Michael Jackson has actually died somehow. He's been dead for a while, but there's something on YouTube which says that he was found in 2018 and that he's actually alive. Obviously, the clip that is shown is of someone else trying to be him. Even if it was his real body, the person is actually totally different, and it's sort of a failed attempt to revive the person who he was. However, if this little clip was real, the public might wonder, has he been brought from the dead? Many would disagree that a person can be brought from the dead, but others will agree that if they are brought from the dead, they are not actually the same. So let's talk more about rumors. There are heaps of rumors. There are heaps of rumors, so we have to take them little bit by little bit. So here's a list of rumors that I've collected. So I'm going to say them one by one, and hopefully someone will recognize the rumor. Okay, so first rumor is that he was murdered by his doctor. So his doctor had inserted an injection that had killed him, and hence that was murder. Obviously, the doctor hadn't taken into consideration the drugs he had already taken during the evening, and he had accidentally murdered him after trying to regain calm bodily function or have an effect that will make him feel okay. So instead of making him feel okay, the injection had stopped his heart and killed him, and that's why he had died of a heart attack. Some think that Michael Jackson had tried to kill himself for fun. So he had inserted some sort of air pin into his windpipe or something, and he had died as a result. But then he was revived before he was murdered by the injection. Some people think that his son, Prince, he had been high, he had grown himself into an adult, and he had tried to kill his own father for being a strange person, an abusive person, but it hadn't actually worked for very long before he was revived. He might have been killed because there were no attempts to revive him before being served injections to revive him. So Michael Jackson had not been given CPR before he was given injections to try and revive his body. So that's obviously something important to note, because obviously if he had been given CPR, that might have helped him recover after being dead for a short time. Because that's what people who suffer heart failings or whatever do. They get CPR first and then they're given injections. He was taking too many drugs himself before he was given a shot of whatever made his heart stop. So people think he was taking pills. He'd taken pills to go to sleep. Then he had taken in oxygen, and then he had done some kind of something to keep him warm, like something in a needle. Like, I don't know what kind of drugs make your blood warm, but he had taken something to keep his body warm. And then he was given a shot of whatever came from the doctor to make his heart stop. So it hadn't been taken into consideration what he had put into his body before he had been given the injection that made his heart stop. Some people think he was revived in the hospital, but he was considered high and killed until he was dead once more. So some people think that he was sort of alive again in the hospital, but doctors said he was on a high and he wasn't actually alive. He was just high talking, and this is why people are buried alive more than half the time. They think they're high, and so they killed his high until he looked like he was dead. And a lot of people would have hated that, because they would have wanted him to walk out on a high and see how long he lasts, but that's considered unhealthy. Some people think he was a mask, and when it was taken off, his body was good to walk away. So some people think that white face was actually some sort of really weird mask. And when the autopsy video came, it showed of his face being chopped up more than his body, because it was a mask that they were chopping off. It wasn't really a real face, it was just something that looked like his face, because that was what was left after the person who was wearing the mask had walked away. So that's a really weird suggestion, but yes, that's a rumor. Some people think that he had killed himself in the making of the movie Ghost by inserting an injection to make his body sand, and he had smashed it to bits during the movie. So obviously the movie Ghost is very dramatic. He tries to show that he's a ghost, he malforms his face, he gets kind of scary, and then at the end he asks if they think this is scary, and then he smashes his hands into the ground. They turn into some sort of bloody looking sand. Then he smashes his face into the ground. So some people think that he had tried to kill himself during that movie, and that's a really strange thing about it, and that what he had been destroying was actually him, even though he thought that he had something else alive inside of him that would take over. He actually killed himself and he never smelled the same, because he had severely injured whoever he was. Some people think that he had never been MJ. He'd never been Michael Jackson. They thought that he had body doubled over his career, from times in the Jackson 5 to his single career and in Monopoly, and hence when he died he was actually the imposter who had sold millions, sure, but he wasn't actually the real one. So he's actually never died, because he was never the real one ever since he got really famous in the 1980s. Some people think he was actually on Brad Pitt's old body from Thelma and Louise, and he was hence a lighter person who could have blonde kids, but he was not actually Michael Jackson. Some people think he was on Kirstie Alley's body from Look Who's Talking, and hence he was once a girl and not the real Michael Jackson. Some people think he was originally on a girl from Australia, and when he had recorded the Bad album, it was done in Australia after he had been found living as an Aboriginal in the bush in New South Wales. So